What'd you call him? You called him Dong? What'd you call
Yudong, Song Yudong. His name is Song Yudong.
Dong is in his name? What's happening, guys? Welcome to Good Guy, Bad Guy. All right, Daniel, got to play a quick game. I'm going to tell you something, and you're not going to believe it's true, but I swear it is. Do you believe me?
I'm going to try, but I don't know at times.
Joshua Van is the champion of the world.
Hey, yes, I believe you. Let me tell you one more thing to make it a little bit like more crazy. He landed one strike. And he won a world title. Like, you can't write this stuff, man.
It's what dreams are made of.
It's what dreams are made of. You know, UFC 323 was the very last pay-per-view. It was the very last pay-per-view on ESPN. And, bro, Rogan said, there's just something in the air. The fighters are going crazy. And it was amazing. Bro, as wild as you going, Joshua Van's the UFC champion. Last night, Merab Dvalishvili was involved in what could potentially have been the fight of the year. That might be even more of a crazy thought than Joshua Van winning a world title with one punch landed in a fight. The fight between Merab and Petr Yan was absolutely insane, Chael. When you're watching let me backtrack.
Please.
Petr Yan defended 38 takedowns the first time. This time he defended 27 of 29. How early in that fight did you realize, Merab's in trouble?
Yeah, okay. I love that you asked me that, and I was just looking through my phone as you were talking about what a great fight it is. I got a text from Sean O'Malley that knew we were going to do this, and he just wanted to offer his praises. But he said, Uncle Chael, tell DC that was the greatest bantamweight fight of all time, and that's coming from the biggest draw.
Wow.
It's a big compliment to say about your rivals. Okay, so Daniel, if I had a fantasy, I would talk to Petr Yan and I would ask him, what was your game plan? Because when you asked me, at what point did I see that things were starting to unravel? I'm not positive what Yan's game plan was. Look, he was very clear with the orthodox back to southpaw. He was very clear kind of doing the John Jones-esque, keeping that distance. He was very clear at walking him down and cutting the cage off, but defensively, wrestling-wise, it was all that underhook. If he could get to that underhook, he could stop the takedown. But he also was very aggressive wrestling-wise. And so all of a sudden, that's 5 and 6 things. And, you know, those greats will flip the script on you with one thing, such as walk him down and control that distance. And then the rest just kind of happens. So that's what I'm wondering. It's like, Yan, there's no way that in 8 weeks you put in 6 different steps, but whatever you did put in resulted in 6 different things that flipped an outcome drastically.
Yeah, he fought so good, man. I was watching, and I thought Merab was doing pretty good early. He wasn't landing the shots as damaging as Petr Yan was, but he was hitting them and he was going back forward. He was shooting those takedowns. We asked the question on Good Guy, Bad Guy on Thursday. Over or under, will Merab shoot 49 takedowns? He shot less, 29, which for normal people is a lot. 29 wasn't enough. He needed to shoot more than 50. Because if he shot more than 50, he would not be exchanging as many times as he did with Petr Yan. I think he fell a little victim to the success he had early in the striking, and it gave him a comfort that he really should never have gotten against a guy that's as good as Yan. That version of Petr Yan that we saw last night was the guy that we watched just break Jose Aldo down and eventually become the interim champion. That version of Petr Yan was what many thought him and Merab's first fight would look like. That version of Petr Yan might have been the greatest version we have ever seen of Petr Yan. Now, I asked his coach after the fight, I said, Coach, Merab Dvalishvili had developed a reputation for being such a cardio machine that no one ever thought that by round 5, Petr would be the guy that seemed fresher. I said, what was that work rate like? He goes, we work like we always do. I said, bro, I've never seen him in that type of shape. We have never seen him be able to push at that rate. I believe that, Chael, out of everything that he did special last night, was what impressed me the most, was his ability to not only stay with Merab cardio-wise, but surpass Merab cardio-wise.
And Daniel, you got to want it so bad to be able to do that. I mean, you got to want it so, because I believe the coach, they probably train the exact same as they've always been training. And maybe in some ways, 3 years ago, they were even training a little better, with that father time and that whole adage. And I'm just saying, like, you've got to want it inside to be able to do that. To watch Petr Yan, guys can do that one time for one world championship, and it's what dreams are made of, and off they go, and they go in the history books. But to get it up like this, and it wasn't just Yan, it was such a group effort. His whole team, this is not something where they got a call from Dana White 6 weeks ago and they put this together. They've been working on this for 3 years. Those adjustments that they made, the belief that young man, Petr Yan, clearly had in himself, and the belief that those coaches clearly had in Petr Yan, I really thought it was an inspiring thing. I thought it was more than just a great fight. It's what fighters do. They get up and they push forward. What typical. Hey, I got to tell you about Merab. When you start to lose control of a fight, when that belt starts to slip away, things unravel very quickly. But they didn't with him, man. That dude was dog tough. He did not relinquish not one bit. He was out there with honor and grit. And yeah, his pace got slowed down a little bit. I think that affected his striking. You saw some real good striking from him in the Sandhagen fight and the Sugar Sean fight. But that's because the threat of the takedown was so large. He threatened that takedown so much that everything landed. When he just came out last night with the 1s and 2s and not quite as many takedowns, it was a little bit of an error in hindsight.
And he couldn't get him started. Yan was defending so great that Merab wasn't putting him to the mat at all anymore. The first fight, he took him down 11 times, and he had about 6 minutes of control time. And we were like, well, that's not much to Merab. Petr Yan did great. Bro, on the 2 takedowns he got, he might have been down for 20 seconds. I mean, he was just so well prepared that there was nothing Merab could do to him. And the scorecards were 3 rounds to 2, 4 rounds to 1, 4 rounds to 1. And it was a dominant victory. Chael, what was most surprising, though, is how well, and again, it all comes down to preparation, right? We saw Sean O'Malley hurt Merab in the 5th round at the Sphere. Nobody else had hurt Merab since then, or hurt him with a couple punches. But what Petr Yan and his team recognized, that he got hurt to the body. When you get hurt to the body, that's not something that you can improve on. You just got to find a way to get to that shot again. Bro, Yan kicked him. Yan kicked him so hard. Merab yelled, ah, dude, was that not the craziest thing to see a champion get kicked to the body so hard and hurt that he screamed? And it happened 2 to 3 times.
I know the shot. I saw that side kick, but it was almost a teak where the toe went in. I didn't know that he yelled, oh, I didn't know there was an audible.
He screamed.
Where I was at with ESPN, I did not know that. And that is interesting. That is very fascinating to me. Those guys just went to war. I mean, Daniel, one thing that we have is, we celebrate these fights and we celebrate the contest and we learn something new. I mean, every week you and I come in, it's like we didn't know anything. The sport, we learn something new every time. Yep. We also come out the back end and we talk about what's next. I do feel like the what's next, if we go by what we should do, is pretty obvious, which is the trilogy. These boys have got to meet one more time. There is nothing settled between these two. They change the mantle, that belt goes on, but there is nothing settled between Yan and Merab.
No, so I agree. I agree with you. Petr Yan doesn't seem interested in it, though. He said Merab and Umar can fight each other, and then they can see who gets a title fight. But I'm telling you, your boy Sean O'Malley, he beats Song Yadong. There'll be a little bit of a draw from the company business-wise to go, is it maybe? Because, I mean, Merab should be fighting for the belt, no question. Because his chasing history is why he's not the champion today. Merab could have literally stayed after that fight against Sandhagen, Chael, and said, I'll see you guys in February, March, and nobody would have complained. Nobody would have said anything like, okay, dude, you fought 3 times, you beat Umar, you beat Sean, and you beat Sandhagen. You beat all #1 guys. Take some time. Not many guys do 3 in a year. Dude, the Pantoja loss. That was his 3rd title fight this year. 3 in a year is very difficult. But he wanted to fight 4 times. You and I spoke about this a couple times in the build. And we thought that quite possibly the weight cut and the fighting the toughest guy in the world over and over again may become too much. Was it too much, Chael? Do you think that the schedule played a part in that, or was Petr Yan just better on that night? And honestly, he was just better. But
and Daniel, I fully get your question, and my hypocrisy knows no bounds, because 20 minutes before, Joshua Van did the same thing, and I would tell you how great it was to get out there and be more active and be more busy, and he's getting more matches and more rounds. Then we go just one walkout, 2 introductions by Bruce Buffer, and we get a very different result. And you go, well, I think maybe he was a little overzealous, and he sparred 5 rounds this morning, and he did.
He did.
His partner put that out on
Twitter.
But
think about this though, Chael P. We say maybe he shouldn't have sparred, but when he did it last fight and he won, everybody's like, it's the stuff of legend.
That's the thing. That's the thing, is it's like, what is that perfect number? And look, Daniel, Merab was a little flat. I want to be very cautious here, because it was such a good performance. I mean, he woke up yesterday the best guy in the world. He wakes up today the second best guy in the world. But he was flat. I mean, when we do look at the numbers and the output, I don't know if he got a little fatigued, and only he could share that with us. If he maybe underestimated the moment. Sometimes you go in and fight a guy, and if you go whip him, you'll lose a level of respect. And if you lose respect, you lose urgency. Is that what happened? Or 3, was he a little bit flat because he's been doing this too much? Like, I don't actually know the answer to that, because Yan walked him down. There wasn't 49 opportunities for shots. It's not as though Merab was doing less because he didn't feel like it. He wasn't seeing the opportunities. Jan's walking down. Jan's got this John Jones. I don't know what else to call it when you do that straight. When he puts that thing in his face, and then he switches to this side. Then he's offering his own wrestling offense. Like, there was just so many good things done by Yan. It did make Merab seem flat, but was he? I'm not positive he actually was.
He got taken down more, and he had to wrestle defensively more than he has had to in a while. And maybe that caused for a little fatigue. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Merab Dvalishvili wasn't more tired than we've seen him in a really long time. And I believe that was because he couldn't really dictate to Petr Yan as we are used to seeing him dictate to most people. He was having to defend more. He was having to get back up when he was getting taken down. Probably did not expect that. And that's one thing that he did not have to deal with in the first fight. Petr was the one that was just constantly defending because Merab was on the gas the whole time. This time he made Merab go backwards more consistently, and he made Merab wrestle defensively, which he didn't do the first time that they fought. So it was a very, very good game plan by Yan. His ability to mix things up was amazing. And the reality is he's the best in the world. And for a long time, he was the best in the world until he wasn't. And the way to beat him was to ground him. And that's what Aljamain Sterling did in the rematch to take the belt from him. But there will be a draw, Chael, if Sean O'Malley can get through Song Yadong, because at Bantamweight, as you just said not 10 minutes ago, Sean O'Malley is the biggest star. He is the biggest star in the weight class, and there will be a draw to say, hey, why don't we put O'Malley in there to fight Petr Yan, because he's not going to get wrestled the whole time. But that would feel unfair, at least in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I hear you on that. I also think that it's a little bit unfair. Sometimes you have that luck of a draw, or one guy's not quite ready, and so you can get around some of those politics a little bit. I don't know that Song Yadong, not for nothing, is going to be completely ruled out if he was to get a win over O'Malley. That's going to be a really big deal, and he's got some good media behind him. I'm just suggesting for you at 135 pounds, I think we've got some good options. I like what you told me, that Petr Yan's already pushing back. I like that he's already saying, hey, you and Umar, go figure this out. That's smart. I mean, that he's got one job, which is to get the most money against the easiest opponent. That is what his job as champion is. I like that Petr Yan he's had the belt for 40 minutes, and he's already pointing the gun at everybody else. I mean, That's what this whole thing is about, right? You go out there, you have those great moments. So let's see what happens. I just kind of feel like when things settle, it's going to land on Merab. I think that Petr Yan is going to go look. He's going to see all the comments. He's going to hear you and I know he watches this show and go, okay, the pundits usually have it right, and they're pretty sure that Merab should be the number one contender for the very title that he just gave me an opportunity at. I think that's the direction we'll go. I hear what you're saying, and there's other great ones at 135 as well. I mean, even Batista coming off a loss. I realize Sandhagen's got some rebuilding to do, but that division is so awesome right now. It just feels like, we got the Georgian and the Russian, and we got the right two guys.
I would hope that Petr Yan does go, okay, we can fight, because like I said at the very top, Chael, it only happened because Merab was chasing history. Not many champions would have ever given him that chance at this point in his career. I mean, the amount of title defenses he had in a short period of time was crazy. So I hope Petr Yan kind of relents on that and does what's right. And I believe that those two guys are made for each other. And if they fight each other, they make for good fights. And clearly, after last night, we know what it can be at its best. Now, we've had some disappointments recently. Tom Aspinall and Cyril Gane, the way it ended with the eye poke. Foul, let you felt bad, terrible, right? But yesterday, Pantoja and Joshua Van, that had to be the most ultimate letdown I've ever seen, because we had an all-time great title reign end on an injury. Chael, every time I double leg you in practice, what do you do when you go into your knees? You reach to the mat. You reach to the mat to find the mat to break the fall so that then you can get back to your knees and get back up to your feet. It's a routine thing that we do every day when you're falling. Take a child, pick that child up or let them fall. When they're playing on a playground, they push each other down, they start falling, they do this. It's just what we do. But if you're Joshua Van, how do you take this in stride?
Sure. Yeah, that young man went through a lot last night. I was really watching his body language and demeanor. He's got to follow procedure. Procedure says you stand here, you get your hand raised, you let the crowd cheer or boo you, you get the belt put around you. I mean, he had to do those things, and then he's got to look content and pleased with himself while not celebrating when another guy is injured, right? And it's very different whether we beat a guy. It's very different if we injure the guy. And so it was just this really strange moment, and I thought that Van handled it really like quite a professional. Daniel, here's the one thing. People are going to question this tremendously, and they're going to say there's an asterisk and you have no right to celebrate, and this isn't what dreams are made of. Okay, fair enough, but hold on. If that same thing would have happened, the exact same thing would have happened 24 minutes into the fight, I don't think people would be saying that. If it happened 8 minutes in, like it did with Anderson Silva against Chris Weidman, I don't know that people are saying that. There was also something just with the shortness, that 40 seconds, that one exchange. I'm only sharing that, Van did do the hard part. He walked out there. He was an underdog. He was a 3-1 underdog to get beat up by this grown man that's the best in the world. And that young kid made that walk. The second youngest champion, only behind John Jones. He got in there with a grown man that the whole world said you can't beat. He went and faced those fears. And for that alone, give the man his due. He's got a 12-pound gold belt. He's going to come out and defend it against anybody. It looks like that'll be Pantoja. It's Josh Van's night, like it or not.
Yeah, like it or not. And the way the fight started, dude, they were going at it. We were in. It was only 25 seconds, but they were going in to make a very fun fight. I think for Joshua Van, it's just a matter of him taking this thing and just going, you know what? I am going to play the cards that I've been dealt. I didn't want him to get hurt. I was ready to fight him for 25 minutes if I needed to. But I am very impressed with him at only 24 years old with the way that he kind of takes things and just deals with them and moves forward, right? You're right, Chael. You watched the body language. And the way he carried himself last night was of a champion, because we have seen many, many people do too much. Guy gets hurt, they go celebrate and go crazy. And all of a sudden they drop to their knees like, oh my God, I realized that wasn't supposed to be the reaction. Let me play as if I'm humble in this moment, when in reality, everything in their body is telling them to celebrate. So, no, he did a good job of dealing with what was the ultimate unfortunate situation. Now, He's a champion. He's only 24 years old, but he's got some work to do. I don't know that Pantoja is going to be able to fight him right back because he's old and it'll take him a little bit of time to recover. But he's got some stuff to deal with in this weight class. But ultimately, the story is the former champion because he's getting up there in age, Chael. He had a very, very bad injury in the fight. How does this affect him going forward?
Yeah. Well, it's not easy. I mean, listen, the Pantoja story has largely been forgotten. Let me just take you back. Let me just take you back to the Ultimate Fighter, of which he did not win. Let me take you back to the finals of the Ultimate Fighter, of which he was not a participant of. Let me take you back to the gentleman that did win that season of the Ultimate Fighter, who's not even in these conversations anymore. I mean, look, you're the guy until you're not. You're not the number one contender until you are. It's one of those where so many things have to come together. There's so much through the training camps and being healthy and staying injury-free, making the weight class, getting licensed, getting the paperwork. There's so many things that have to come together for these type of moments. And yeah, I understand that everybody, we're watching last night and we get two upsets in our two title fights. And then instantly we go to the press conference and we're trying to remake these two matches. And so, well, I don't really know about that. I mean, we can't just redo every match that gets a weird outcome or we don't like the decision of them. And are we supposed to see the card that we just saw last night? We're supposed to see Merab and Yan again and Van and Pantoja again. I don't know about that. Like, at some point it has to stop. Are we going to take this all the way back to that season of the Ultimate Fighter where Pantoja wasn't even in the finals and go and resurface that guy? And the answer is no. Sometimes it's right now and in this moment. I think the best thing that the UFC could do is to make another fight there quickly while Pantoja is still out, just so it doesn't come up. He can still return to a title fight, but it could be down the road. I'd get Van in there with some fresh, I really would. I think 125 pounds is awesome. I think there's a lot of awesome guys, and I'd like to see a little bit of musical chairs when you have a division that deep.
Yeah, well, and because Pantoja had been beating everybody, but now he's going to be out for a bit. Though that was a real injury. I mean, they showed it about 30 times on the replay. But this guy's got an injury. It'll take some time. I believe that Tatsuro Taira, after beating Brandon Moreno and finishing Brandon Moreno, should be fighting for the belt. I looked over at Mick Maynard last night, and I said to him, book him tomorrow. He goes, what do you mean? I go, Tatsuro Taira got hit 10 times against Brandon Moreno. Nothing happened. They were boxing for about 45 seconds. He goes for a takedown. He ends up in that weird triangle position with Moreno. They stay there the whole round. Second round starts. Brandon hits him a couple times. Tatsuro takes him down, takes his back, gets to the mount, flattens him out, and finishes him as Brandon turns down. There's no damage on either side. There are fight cards at the beginning of the year where you could say, hey, I know Alexander Volkanovski has a fight in February, on February 1. Generally, we like to do 2 title fights on these pay-per-views. Why not make this the second fight? Tatsuro Taira and Joshua Van. Van won't say no. Then you turn him around, right? That's 2 months since Pantoja got hurt. Say after the winner of that fight needs 6 months before the next fight. Now you're 8 months post Pantoja's injury. It doesn't feel like he's the champion and has been defending the belt. I'll walk right into a rematch because now you've either got him going into a rematch with Joshua Van or he's fighting a brand new champion. The whole weight class seems refreshed because it kept moving in the interim. And I just believe that they're lucky because of how quickly those things happened yesterday. They can do that fight very, very fast. I do believe it's Taira because nobody finishes Brandon Moreno.
Come on, man. Are we going to act like he did not finish Brandon Moreno? Come on. Not to mention, he was mean when he was doing it, Daniel. He was generating some real strength. Boom, boom. He had some real power. I think when that fight was stopped, there might have been a little bit confusion. Moreno had some elevation, and he dropped elevation.
I ran into Mark Smith at the airport today. Mark's the pilot, and he actually came up to me.
Did he understand that he was rolling to let him mount him?
He said to me, do you think anything would have changed? I said, no. But I would have liked to see a guy like Brandon at least get a chance to. Because do you remember when Shane Carwin was beating the crap out of Brock Lesnar? They gave him a chance, and then Brock ended up winning the fight. You give that champion a chance. He said what we didn't see, though, is on the ground, right? When Brandon got hit, his eyes rolled back. I said, okay. Now, if I didn't see that. If the eyes rolled back, I have nothing to say.
Yep.
Right? But, yes, I told him directly to his face, I disagree, Mark. I thought you'd give a champion like that time. Because Brandon got it right away and said, really?
Yeah. Yeah, Brandon, he was actually kind of funny. The way Brandon was, he was looking very sweet. He was very sweet. He was on his knees looking at the referee. But to your point, whether it was early or not in hindsight, there was 8 or 9 really good, really powerful punches. I mean, you just don't finish a Brandon Moreno, man. You get him in a position to control him like that. And I'm just doubling down on your point that, yeah, that deserves a title shot. Like, I get the human element to Pantoja and going, hey, listen, you got hurt. This was a fluke, and we got to get you back in there. I get that. I just don't understand how you can finish Brandon Moreno and not also be given a nod. So sometimes it's hard to serve multiple matches, but I hope that we find a way.
Yeah, we're going to find out what's going on in that division, but it's interesting, and there is time, which is nice because the great Alexandre Pantoja will be on the shelf for a little bit. So hopefully this new young champion who's exciting and who wants to fight is up and ready to go sooner rather than later against Tetsuro Taira. Also, we still have Manel Kopp and those guys fighting next Saturday, him versus Brandon Royval. And those guys would both love seeing a new champion in Joshua Van.
I got to tell you before you go. Are you wrapping the show? I got something to tell you.
Yes.
Very small. Okay. This is not a big deal, but I needed to talk to Kamaru Usman the other day. So I go to Henry Cejudo and say, can you send me Kamaru's number? Henry Cejudo writes me back, I'll think about it. Now, there's just something about that.
I'll think about it.
If anyone comes to me like for your number, and I get asked for your number a lot, I'm going to write it back. I'll think about it. He never got back to me. Apparently, he's still thinking about it or had a week cut in a fight to do and just forgot about old Chael. But just thought you'd appreciate that his response to me asking for his partner's number is, I'll think about it.
Isn't that crazy? Oh, how far he's come. Hey, he did fight last weekend, though. He fought, and boy, it was rough. It was rough. He got
out-wrestled. That surprised me. When the Olympics
got out-wrestled.
It's a surprise. But Daniel, this is a sport now. It's no longer these specialists. It's a
nope.
And Talbot was a better mixed martial artist that night. And again, he just reminded me of how many things I constantly am learning about this sport.
You know what Pendleton told me? He said they recruited him at Oregon State. He said Peyton Talbot was decent out of Reno High School, same high school as Ryan Bader. I didn't know that. So Peyton Talbot's takedown defense being an issue is a real surprise because when you put him in a singlet, I guess he's pretty good. And he showed because that inside-out trip that he hit was not lucky. That was hit picture perfect. Sagged his weight off to the side. It was perfect.
And that was Henry's own move. That was the irony is that's Henry's own move.
Chill, I called it. Man. I go inside-out trip coming but Peyton does it. It was nuts. Chael Henry retired after he beat Dominic Cruz during the pandemic. Came back, lost 4 in a row. In hindsight, was that a mistake for him to come back?
Was it a mistake to come back or was it a mistake to retire, boy? So just to tell that story, because this is one of this is the worst business decision that I've ever seen in the UFC. And if I could just paint this for you, that was called UFC 246. And to remind you, that was the first sporting event, not just the first fight. There was no football, baseball, basketball. It was the first sporting event back in the pandemic. So Henry's getting paid points on that. He gets $3 million. It was 2.8 and change $million for doing that fight because of bonus money. He also got his like 400 grand that night. So comes out of
now he wants that every time.
Yeah, and he says, you know what? I'm done. I'm going to call it. So he gives the participation back. When he gave that belt back, he now no longer gets those pay-per-view bonuses. So when he returns, the UFC is like, hey, you're an adult here and you tried to do so we're just going to go by the contract, Henry. We're not going to do you a favor. Henry's like, yeah, just go by the contract. So that pulled millions of dollars off the table and he never returned to it. So from that perspective, it was a very big error. And then competitively, can anybody fight with one foot out the door? Not that I've seen. And you might be able to go back over time and show me a St. Pierre and remind me of what Robbie Lawler did on his last night. But you're probably not ever going to fill up an entire hand. You're probably since 1993 not going to get to 5 examples where a guy can be doing a podcast. He could be training guys. He could be working with his brother and doing his own career. You kind of got to choose one. You kind of got to be real selfish. When Henry got to the top of the world, that was a word that I would use. I know that's not a nice word, but it's meant to be in our sport. Selfish. He focused on Henry. He looked out for Henry. He put everything, put education, relationships, family, jobs, money. He put everything aside to pursue that Olympic dream, and he brought that over to MMA. And when he started to, things started to change, I think that he got his eye off the ball a little bit. Yes, that'd be a fair critique meant in a respectful way for an athlete that I do truly respect.
And he did it, man. He absolutely did it. He shouldn't have walked away then. There was a lot of money to be made at that time. But coming back, going out the way that he did, especially after the Song Yadong fight where he gets eye poked weirdly, people thought that he quit. To fight the way that he did yesterday.
What'd you call him? You called him Dong? What'd you call him?
Song Yadong. His name is Song Yadong.
Dong is in his name?
Yeah, it is.
That's funny.
Chael, I yesterday watching Henry go out on his sword like that, I felt proud of him. I felt proud of him like I did when he won the Olympic Games. Like I just felt pride watching a guy, because Chael, expectation is a hell of a thing to deal with. To live with that since you were a 16-year-old kid and have the career that Henry Cejudo had, it's crazy. Expectation is crushing. It can crush the strongest of men. And Henry took that from 16 to 38, won an Olympic gold medal. He won 2 UFC championships in 2 weight classes, and he beat Demetrius Johnson. Like, I just saying that is enough for me. So he should be happy going out knowing he did everything he wanted to do, man. And he's a stud, bro. I love the kid, and I was very happy for him and proud of him with the way that his career ended, even though he didn't get a victory. And Chael, you're right.
Saved the division, and he embraced our business. He embraced our business. The king of cringe, and turning that into a character. But yeah, if we're giving him praise, I guess I'll just add that.
They really call him Dong?
His name is Song Yadong. He's a man too. No, it's his real name, Song Yadong. You're so stupid. Chael, on Thursday, we're going to do the Stu Scott Fight Like Hell Night fights on Saturday. Thursday, you and I will talk about it more. It is the 7th annual Stu Scott Fight Like Hell Night this Saturday. What a great man. It's a great honor that UFC does this. ESPN does this. He was a fan of the sport, and he was a guy that just truly loved mixed martial arts, Chael, at a time when everyone didn't. Stu Scott, I remember him had you guys in the octagon in Bristol when nobody had an octagon in Bristol. And you knew the only reason that octagon was in Bristol was because of Stuart Scott. That man he was a tremendous, tremendous voice for the sport of mixed martial arts. And this will be the 7th Stuart Scott Fight Like Hell Night this Saturday night, Chael. And it's going to be amazing. You and I will talk more about that on Thursday. But UFC 323 was a monster. For the bad guy, Chael Sonnen, I'm the good guy, Daniel Cormier. Until next time, peace.
They call him Dong?